For this knot, the PR knot, you're going to need several items to assist you, and all good jiggers should have these. A set of decent pliers, again with cutters, and I use those instead of scissors. You can use scissors if you prefer. You'll need the PR bobbin, and this is the crux of the whole knot. This performs the main action of splicing this knot from your braid to your leader. Today I'm going to use PE5, which for me is a good mid-range line, relatively easy to tie, and I'm going to take off enough to tie the knot. I'm going to take my PR bobbin, lick the line a little bit just to add a little bit of lubricity, and feed it through onto the bobbin. Now this next part is quite critical. By placing into the bobbin, into the rubber grip rings, and then I'm going to wrap between 8 and 10 times around this bobbin. And it depends how big the spool is on bobbins. Some of the bobbins vary in size, but you want to allow yourself plenty of braid material when it comes to finishing the knot, otherwise you're playing around with little short ends, which isn't ideal. And that should just about cover it. And I'm going to take a length of just over 300 mil, even though the knot itself is only going to be between 60 and 65 millimeters long at the finished. Then I'm just going to grab that in my hand and let that fall down, the bobbin fall down with the line around about 150 mils, and let it slowly and gently wrap around the line until the end of the bobbin comes to rest there. Now, one other critical point here is the bobbin needs enough tension on it so when I start wrapping, it remains with the end against the line. If it starts to lengthen out, you could hit yourself in the face, and if it's too tight, the line is going to want to spin in my hands and not actually wrap around nicely. So at this stage now, I'm going to start to whip it over. Okay, I'm going to pinch with my finger and start it so it comes back down the line. And you may have to give it a little bit of a start with this. It can be a little bit finicky and a bit tricky. There we go. Ooh. Okay, so I'm going to come down around about 60 mil to 65 mil and stop, and that's plenty for a decent PR knot. Notice how I've still got plenty of line left onto the bobbin, and I'm going to peel that off now. At this stage, try and keep things as firm as possible. In other words, not too much slack in your main braid line. That's going to become critical when we come to pre-stress the knot, and you have to pre-stress the knot. It's no use finding out when you get out on the water that you haven't tied it properly, and it will start to unravel. Now, there are several methods that people prefer to do. Some prefer to snip this off at this stage and burnish it over. I prefer not to. I prefer to leave that on, and I'll show you why. It just makes the finishing of the knot a little bit easier. So at this stage, what we're going to do is start a series of, again, under and over half hitches, and we're going to try and get that as tight as we can and as firm as we can. So half hitches over, half hitch under, keeping it firm and tight as possible. Okay, so there's a series of at least 6 to 8 half hitches around the main line as well as the leader. The next series of half hitches I am only going to complete around the braid, and this is coming close to the end of the knot, and I'm going to do another probably 6 or 8 under and over. Keep it nice and tight as possible. So it looks like that. Now to finish this knot, we're going to finish it with a 3-wrap risotto again, and this is purely to seal the knot off. So I'm going to finish that just by making a loop and finishing it with a risotto. And I'm going to go around that about 3 times. Pull that through. Very gently. Pull that up. And that is our knot nearly finished. At this stage, we're going to cut and just burnish over with a little bit of flame the ends of the knot, just as a bit of double added security. First, the braid. I'm going to leave about 3 mil. And then our main line. Again, I'm going to leave about 3 mil. Take our flame, pinch carefully between the fingers, and this is quite critical. We've just spent all that time tying a great knot. We don't want to undo it at the very end, so be very careful with the heat. Before it sets, just dab it down with your finger to round it off. Again, with the braid. And dab it down. That is a PR knot, very slim. Some call it a knot, some call it a splice, but that will pass through the guides very smoothly, both running in and running out of the rod.